Of all the fruits that you can eat in the summer, I think my most favorite one is watermelon. In ancient Egypt, they were highly valued for their hydrating properties in the arid climate. In the Middle East in general, watermelons are often enjoyed as a refreshing dessert. Sometimes they're even paired with salty cheese or sprinkled with a touch of salt. If you think about watermelon salads here in the States, oftentimes with feta cheese, you can see how this tradition has been adapted. In Mexican culture, you'll oftentimes see large slices of watermelon covered in chamoy and tajín, or in large fruit cups covered with lime juice and more tajín, and they'll even use the juice to make refreshing agua frescas. When I think back to my childhood, in the summertime, my mom always made sure that we had watermelons. I remember her standing in the kitchen, much like I am standing now, cutting up watermelon and putting it into a big, huge Tupperware bowl. For me, watermelons and summertime became ubiquitous. And for my family, it's not surprising because there is a cultural significance to watermelons in Chinese culture. In Chinese culture, the watermelon is a symbol of good fortune, prosperity, and happiness. But why is that? Watermelons were domesticated in northern Africa. The first seeds were brought to China in the 10th century, probably along the Silk Road. The name for watermelon in Chinese, in Cantonese specifically, is saigua, which literally translates to West melon, or Western melon. And in China, during this time period, they were seen as a luxury food, usually only consumed by the upper class, which is a stark difference to how they were depicted in the 1800s here in the United States. This excerpt is from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. It states, before it became a racist stereotype in the Jim Crow era, watermelon once symbolized self-sufficiency among African Americans. Following emancipation, many Southern African Americans grew and sold watermelons, and it became a symbol of their freedom. Many Southern whites reacted to this self-sufficiency by turning the fruit into a symbol of poverty. Watermelon came to symbolize a feast for the unclean, lazy, and childlike. To shame Black watermelon merchants, popular ads and ephemera, including postcards, pictured African Americans stealing, fighting over, or sitting in streets eating watermelon. Watermelons being eaten hand to mouth without utensils made it impossible to consume without making a mess, therefore branded a public nuisance. If we hop over to the watermelon stereotype page on Wikipedia, it states, the first published caricature of Black people reveling in watermelons is believed to have appeared in Frank Leslie's illustrated newspaper in 1869. The stereotype emerged shortly after enslaved people were emancipated after the Civil War. Defenders of slavery used it to portray African Americans as simple-minded people who were happy when provided with watermelon and little rest. The slaves' enjoyment of watermelon was also seen by the Southern people as a sign of their own supposed benevolence. The stereotype was perpetuated in minstrel shows, often depicting African Americans as ignorant and lazy, given to song and dance, and inordinately fond of watermelon. During the early 1900s, postcards often depicted African Americans as animalistic creatures, happy to do nothing but eat watermelon, which has been seen as a bid to dehumanize them. And for several decades in the late 19th century through to the mid-20th century, the stereotype was promoted through caricatures in print, film, sculpture, and music, and was a common decorative theme on household goods. As I was reading through all of this information on the symbolism of watermelon throughout history, it brought to my mind the images that I have seen from the late 19th and early 20th century that related to the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, where caricatures of Chinese immigrants to America were published in order to dehumanize us. And as I was thinking about that, my mind then went to all of the ICE raids that have been happening and all of the turmoil that has been going on due to this current administration. There are huge amounts of intersectionality going on between all of our marginalized communities. And here I sit on June 19th, otherwise known as Juneteenth, the day we've set aside to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in the United States. The day when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas and announced the freedom of enslaved people, 2 months after the end of the Civil War and over 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Eating my most favorite fruit, hand to mouth, without utensils.